I would like to now introduce retired General Russel Honoré. He has 37 years experience in the Army. He's currently a CNN contributor and is with the Gallup organization as a senior scientist working on issues of preparedness. Many of you may remember General Honoré as the commander overseeing the military relief efforts after Hurricane Katrina. He has written 2 books, one about survival, creating a culture of preparedness, and a second one about leadership in the new normal. Both of these are available for signature at the Muscle Wall booth. A little plug there. Please welcome General Honoré.
Regardless of how good y'all are, just think about this, as we say down in Louisiana. As you sit here today, there are planning zoning boards back in your county drawing up some stuff that don't make no sense. And they're probably putting another damn development in a flood zone. And they're all volunteers because they're doing it for the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the challenge we're faced with today in America. Globally, we are faced with it because we're going from 7 billion to 10 billion people in the next 10 to 15 years. Think about it. 15 years ago, we had 5.8 billion people in the world. There's growing population, need more space, and everybody want more stuff. All that put pressure on this precious thing you're trying to control called a flood zone. And again, the biggest enemy of the flood zone is those county planning commissions. And when you're bored, turn them on. Many counties have them on at night, and you can see them in there talking. And they look like they're doing the people's work. But they're all about creating the economy. I look forward to seeing you later today. I'm down at the Muscle Wall booth. If you would like to talk, come by, and we can chat for a little bit. This is how you get a hold of me, and we'd like to follow up with anything. But thanks for the opportunity to come here today, courtesy of Muscle Wall and AECOM at this great lunch. How about a big round of applause for AECOM? That's a great lunch. For those of you who worried, I got 3 slides. That's 1. Slide 2. This is what happens when we don't get it right. We get people inside the flood zone. In this case, over 250,000 homes underwater. It can happen any place in America. Now, let me show you this other thing. The next slide and last slide. I only got 7 minutes. To those of you that are geographically challenged, this here's a map of the United States of America. For any of you wondering, that red stuff, if you're anywhere near that, you probably live in a flood zone. Normally I speak for an hour, and people get to ask me questions. And far and behold, when I'm in these big cities with a lot of these intellectuals and big business people, somebody will ask the question and said, General, how do you know if you live in a flood zone? I said, one indication, ma'am, if you see water from your house, you're probably in a damn flood zone. Agree with me? If you see water on the way home, you're probably in a flood zone. Lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, I've asked all engineers. Any engineers in the room? Of course, the damn room's full of engineers. They blame it on the architects. To take a pledge today. Y'all ready, engineers? When we putting a bridge over a river, the bridge must go up. Y'all got that? The example I use for bad planning is Atlanta. Anybody here from Atlanta? It's one thing I would tell you you will not see in Atlanta is a bridge that go up. They get to the Chattahoochee River and they cut right through that riverbank. And what happened every time the Chattahoochee River floods? Atlanta gets chopped up by floodwaters. Because somebody decided to do what? We got to straighten them roads up. We're not going to go over that hill, boy. And then right on the other side of that river, we're going to put a development there. We got to have an exit. But you see, we got federal standards for interstates, but the local folk get to do what? They got to mess with them exit ramps. And many times it's right in what? A flood zone. I don't make this up. I rode into Katrina after spending 35 years going around the Army, doing your work, helping protect this nation, and flew into Katrina and said, who came up with this plan? How in the hell did this evolve? How could this be? And over the years, we have evolved. Look where these cities are. We evolve as a nation, going out and developing this nation from the East Coast to the West around bodies of water. About 2009, I was doing a little work at CNN during the Midwest spring flooding, and a professor I'd met at a conference earlier, he and I were talking because I knew he was from that town. I won't mention the town, but the last name is Falls. And CNN weatherman Chad Myers was there. He was doing a little Google thing and going back and forth like we normally do, and how did that flood happen? And the professor said, well, Gerald, I don't understand how the flood happened here. It's threatening the historic library. I said, well, professor, what do you think here? You don't understand how this happened. Where are you standing? He said, next to a river. What do you see when you look to the west, professor? High ground. What do you see when you look to the east, professor? High ground. I said, that's called a damn valley. How do you think that valley got there, cuz? It's amazing, as smart as we are, we have figured out how to put a vehicle on the moon that's taking pictures and send it back, and we can't figure out where the hell it's going to flood. You know, the people in this room know, but how do we transform that in America? We lose more homes and more people's lives globally to flooding than any other event. You know that because you're here. You share, how do we take that message back and make it relevant to the future? It's very clear, ladies and gentlemen, as we go and this global population expand. China got 1.3 billion people. India got 1.3 billion, and India is closing in on China. Matter of fact, by the time this speech over, India might pass China. That means they got 1 billion more people than we have. We don't have to worry about that. But you know what? We need to get it right. Technology, urban planning. How are we going to deal with these cities of 7, 8 million people? And in some places around the world, there's 25 million people in urban areas. How are we going to deal with that? How are we going to deal with Florida? Anybody here from Florida? What happened when the big one come to Miami? Between Daytona Beach and Miami, that infrastructure was built for about 5 million people. There's over 10 million people living there now, and the elevation is 9 feet. The elevation in Biloxi, Mississippi, Katrina brought a 28-foot wall surge into Biloxi, Mississippi. And there are no levees there, ladies and gentlemen. That is the challenge we have. Expanding population in urban areas that have been designed and evolved over time, built to expand the economy. My closing story is this. I grew up in Point Capee Parish, Louisiana, New Roads, Louisiana, at the head of the Morganza Spillway. You can go look that one up. My historical family has been displaced 3 times. Flood in 1912, 1937, and 1927. All 3 times displaced to put in the Atchafalaya Spillway. Historical piece of construction by great Corps engineers. Let's give the Corps a round of applause. They ain't here today. I know what we normally do about the Corps, but they try hard. But they're led by politicians, and that's all the hell I can say about that. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a challenge. How are we going to deal with this global expanding population? So if we don't get it right, the rest of the world will look to us. We can develop that technology. We can export that technology. We can be the leader. This is something we can export. The knowledge of how we live in harmony with water. Because the book, my last book is Leadership in the New Normal. I pretend in there that future wars will be over water. It will not be over oil. Because eventually we'll find a solution to oil. But as far as we can determine, there's no solution for this body and the amount of water it contains and needs to sustain itself. And you're in that business of dealing with water. The effects of it and how do we get that water in the right place. We look all over the country And personally, I can tell you the biggest threat to water today is energy. What we are doing to extract energy and the impact on our aquifers is having a significant impact on our fresh water supply. Now, we need to find a solution to that. We got to have a solution to pollution. We can do all we want, but the impact we are having with pollution in the extraction business and runoff from cities have a significant impact on wildlife. Because you know what? Mr. Oyster don't have a voice, but he has a place in this world too. Mr. Dolphin don't have a voice. They don't have a vote. They can't come say this is good for the economy. But when we screw it up, they don't get a vote. They don't get to say, give us a chance. Mr. Shrimp, important, all these things are important to our food supply as well as the creatures of the earth. And ladies and gentlemen, if we are not mindful of what we're doing, we're going to get what we give. Because when we mess with that, we mess with the food supply. And we are in that food chain. We're in that food chain. Think about it. We're in that food chain. We're like the bird that eat ant. Okay? Lives in a tree. The tree falls, the tree die. Yet one match from that tree can burn the whole forest. And then we die, the ant eat us. We got to remember we are a part of a global cycle, of the life cycle, that we are just part of it. We are not the thing. We think we are, but we've got to be respect those other things that don't have a voice. So when you leave here today, continue to be an advocate for protecting our water and then building in consideration of what water can do. Either water that comes from Mother Nature or from a broken dam or a secondary effect. I do think the biggest threat, again, is population. And as we go from a man-made disaster from a global natural disaster, as what happened in Japan, to a man-made disaster. I only remind you, in the biggest floodplain in America, along the Mississippi River, today, since 1927, we have over 100 chemical plants between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, Louisiana. 50% of all the barges in America are in Louisiana at every given time. So people wonder, why did we bring New Orleans back to life? That is why. 60% of what we import come through this port and the one in Los Angeles. 60% of what we export go through the port of New Orleans and the mouth of the Mississippi River. That is the significance of what that means to you as a nation. That is your wetlands, that is your coast. 800-mile dead zone in the Gulf. That's water too. We've got to respect it. We've got to praise it. And don't leave a full glass of water on your table, drink it. If there's a glass of water in front of you, drink it, don't waste it before you leave this table. Show that respect to what we in the future will have to go to war over. I hope we don't have to. Look forward to talking to you. If you need a speaker, that's what I do. I normally speak about leadership, but this space that you're dealing with, give me a good passion. If you tweet, if you were one of the first 3 tweeters this afternoon about what I've said, about how I said it, you shoot it, come on down, I'll give you a book. God bless you, God bless the water. Thanks, God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. God bless the water. God bless the water. Thank you very much.